When I do these commentaries, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I've noticed that when I talk about racism or discrimination or things that I've noticed or things I've experienced, you have a particular group of people that get really, really offended. Now, one time I sympathized with them to a degree. I know it's going to sound crazy, me sympathize with white folk, because when we think of racism, we automatically think of whites. But let's be honest, because they took the lead. They take the lead. They're usually the ones that are the most vocal when it comes down to racial stereotypes or racial animosity towards people who are identified as black or people of color, however you want to describe us. Um, but I also noticed something else, and I think we all have, is that you have people who have more in common with us than they care to admit, whether it be looks or culture. It may not necessarily be looks in the traditional sense. They may not have the dark skin that you and I may have, but they may have other characteristics. Or they might be from a group of people who were once considered black. But the last 100, maybe 120 years, there's been this redefinition of who's part of the family. And it's all about numbers. It's all about control, right? So when I see here a Hollywood celebrity or a pseudo celebrity or a writer or a politician that will be quickly called a nigger or some variation of the word nigger, whether it be a sand nigger, a bean eating nigger, I mean all kinds of things I've heard. It strikes me as odd when they critique the black community or make certain comments or vote a certain way. I give you an example. I remember watching. It had to be maybe about 12 years ago, maybe longer. I remember when I was starting to really get into politics, really, really get into it. I mean, as a kid and in high school, I'll watch news programs and stuff, that kind of thing. You just, had to know what's going on. And I noticed that a lot of people that spoke out about black people were people who were identified as Puerto Rican, Mexican, Asian, Arab, or Hindu. And the ones who's leading the charge at first was like Puerto Rican celebrities, Puerto Rican activists, Puerto Rican actors. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, y'all do know y'all black, right? But because some are light skinned or identified as white, because we do have white looking Puerto Ricans, but they still have characteristics that you associate with black people. Full lips, round nose, the shape of their body, hair texture at times. They start to sound just like white people. Case in point, Geraldo Rivera. When he needed his street cred, when he needed to come and do stories, he came to the black community. I'm a down brother. I'm a Puerto Rican. But as he got older and started working for networks like MSNBC, and one of the Fox, also talking about his half Jewish ancestry. Well, if you go back and look at it and look at some of the Jewish men and women, the main people that talk shit about us, look at their full lips, round nose, and dark skin. Mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel, said when he was a kid coming up and he's identified as Jewish, he said Jewish children whose skin was lighter and whiter used to make fun of his dark skin. If you never heard Rahm Emanuel speak, you probably would assume that he was either Puerto Rican or a light-skinned black dude. Let's just be honest. Now I know y'all gonna I'll come at you being stretched. No, just really step back and look at it, and just look at certain characteristics, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But anyways, not just Geraldo, you had celebrities, other celebrities like what's her name, Kelly Hu. If y'all don't know who Kelly Hu is, she played what's her name? What's the character? Deathstrike? No, not Deathstroke. Deathstroke is DC Comics. Deathstrike, I believe, in the X-Men sequel. She first got her start in the episode of Growing Pains, playing this Hawaiian girl that Mike Seaver character, Kirk Cameron character Mike Seaver like, and she done other TV shows, but she never had that crossover success. But I remember it was an interview she gave when she thought she made it big time. She talked about like Michael Jackson like a fucking dog. I guess she figured, this is my I can get it my bona what's that bona fides. I get, excuse me with some of the words. I get my points by criticizing black folk. And I've noticed that from people of color who figure they had to get ahead by dumping on us. Here it is, Jennifer Lopez. She was a fucking backup dancer. But luck of the draw, she pushed up on the Wayans brothers, Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, Diddy, or Puffy, whatever you want to call them, and she got big, fucking her way to the top. But once she got to what she needed, she didn't need the black community no more. Didn't she run out there and call black folks niggas, use the word nigger? Then she run out there to Ben Affleck. But when Ben Affleck and friend Matt Damon and the family said, "Oh, don't marry her," then he kicked her to the curb like a cheap rug. Then she had to crawl her ass back. She knew she couldn't come back to the black community because she knew she fucked up. So she went and got her Mark Anthony when he can give her a couple of babies. When she got tired of his ass, she kicked him to the curb. But nonetheless, she made and said things at the expense of the black community. She made a living off the black community. And there's countless others out there that have done it. You have these so-called Hindu politicians, Bobby Jindal, and you had these two Republican dudes. I forget the guy's name. You see him on MSN. He's a bald head dude. You might see him on Bill Maher now and then. He's a Hindu. And you got another one called Dinesh D'Souza, whatever his name. He the one that came with this whole Kenyan Mau indoctrination shit that the Republicans have been using ever since. Then you got Nikki Haley. She's not white. She's Arab. And they vote and they make criticisms of the black community. And let's not forget about the Asian counterparts. If they comics, they make jokes. If they're writers, producers, owners of shit, they take advantage of us. They come to our community, make their money. They talk about us. We go in these stores like we don't know what they're doing. So when we talk about racism, we just can't sit here and say white folk. Now, can we put the blame at the helm of white people? Yeah, because they're the ones who started this sick mindset. But let's not forget there are other groups out here that take part in it as well. Y'all remember when Cat Williams did last summer when he was doing was it last summer? This year has gone by fast. Yeah, I guess it was last summer when he made the video about that he was performing and the Mexican guy called him a nigger and he went off on him and how quickly the Mexican community is supposed to be so down with us when it suits them. Stop making videos calling black folks niggas and everything, and I don't think YouTube blocked or disregarded those videos. Remember when Tracy Morgan made a joke about his son being gay? Then the gay community go after him, and then they just relentless make him apologize, and then he kept apologizing. They mocked him. Let's not forget what Roland Martin went through. He made a joke to Piers Morgan, and it wasn't even a gay joke directed at the gay community, but they figure a black man saying something because his wife is a pastor. And see, y'all got to go deeper into the story to understand why they did what they did to him. See, we don't question who our friends and anyone. We figure out somebody is a person of color or somebody said they down with us. They really are down with us. No, these people are not. So in a way, I can understand why some people come to our channels and say, why do you accuse all white people of being racist? That's what I don't do. I don't accuse all white people being racist. That wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be right. But I notice when we do talk about racism, we sort of give everybody else a wide berth. And I think that's one of the reasons why we get fucked over so much, because we keep trying to invite people into the fold or give other people the benefit of the doubt when we want to go after this one particular. Like I said, I understand why we do it. Because we can't not deny the history that our white counterparts take the lead in this shit. But there are people of color or people who say they've been egregious, who have gone right along and joined in with the hatred towards black people. So when I came across this article, when I'm about to put up, and I'm going to explain something to you, and you're going to see why. Now, I'm not accusing this person of being racist, but what they said makes something crystal clear, okay? Bear with me for a second. Whatever happened to Superman hunk Dean Cain? On the 90s TV series Lois and Clark, Dean Cain was the hottest Superman to land on Earth. So why do his current projects involve reality TV, dating, cupcakes, and cheerleaders? He talked to Rain, I guess I can't even pronounce his name, about his career struggles. Basically, what this was talking about, what happened to him, and do you believe in the Superman curse? If y'all not familiar with the Superman curse, what happened is a lot of Superman fans think that any actor that's caught playing the character Superman Clark Kent who's an actor is doomed to heartache, pain, or even death. And the reason being is because what happened was the very first film Superman, Kirk Allen, he basically went to obscurity. Now he played in movies after the 1940s, 48 serials, but he wasn't a well-known character. He wasn't a well-known actor like that. He did a cameo in Superman the movie when he played Lois Lane's father. That train scene, if you watch the extended version and not the television edits. And he died as recent, I think it's 2000, 2001, if I'm not mistaken. Then you had George Reeves, probably one of the most famous Supermans next to Christopher Reeve. He died of either a suicide or a murder back in 1959. Then you fast forward to Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve, as we all know, played Superman in all 4 movies, was a well-known actor, but he would always be remembered as Superman because he was the first major motion picture Superman, and he was the first one to make you believe in 2 characters that it can possibly pull it off. Well, he had his horseback accident in 95. He died in 2000, so he almost lived 10 years with that injury. Then you have the voice actors that people really don't know. Those of us who are into this type of, the sci-fi comic, animation type thing, that basically have faded into obscurity or just died because, hey, old age or whatnot. You had the first Superboy actor, John Rockwell. A lot of people I was going to say John Newton. No, but it was a Superboy pilot that was produced maybe a few years after George Reeves died. It never got picked up. But then you had the modern day Superboy, which is the first season Superboy, John Haynes Newton. He got fired off the first season for whatever reasons. There's been various reports. He did the Vanilla Ice movie. He's done various TV shows. He's done some Lifetimes. He done some. I think he did a major movie, was Alive, where he played one of the guys that when the plane crashed, he had to eat the people who were deceased. He had second season Superboy actor Gerard Christopher, who most people remember, from the show. He did daytime shows. He's done small movies, guest bits, parts and stuff, that kind of thing. It was even rumored that he was going to be casting in a new version of a Superman movie back in the early 90s. And he even met with producer, not Joe, what's his name? Joel Silver, I believe, I think. I get him mixed up. Not Joel Silver. What's the guy? The one that produced the latest Superman movie, Superman Returns. I can't think of his name right now. But anyways, then you had Dean Cain, you had Tim Daly, and everybody know what Tim Daly is. He plays on Private Practice, or at least he did up to last year, voice acting. You had George Newberg, who played Father of the Bride. Then you had Tom Welling, who played the Superman character probably the longest, or at least the modern day version, the longest. And then you got Henry Cavill's going to be in the new Man of Steel movie. And I had to give you guys this little info because they say any actor that touches it, their career goes to shit or something happens to them. Well, I was reading this article and Dean Cain said something, and it made me think back to what he said. Something he said on Larry King. Let me go down here where I can get to it. You guys can read it, so you guys can understand where I'm going with this. Hopefully I can pull it up. Okay. Let me read it. Okay, let me read this part of the article. The economics of movie making is to blame as well. Cain played a supporting role in the 2003 action Out of Time opposite Denzel Washington, but the experience left him with a sour aftertaste. Denzel made a truckload of cash and I made peanuts, he says. I made more on one episode of television than I made in 6 weeks of shooting that. It's ridiculous. I don't know how some of these people make a living. Now, for y'all, this may not seem like much, but back during the 2008 campaign, Dean Cain came out. He supported John McCain. And I can't remember I'm paraphrasing. I couldn't remember exactly what he said, but I know it caught me off guard. And I remember my father calling me, say, "Hey man, that guy that plays Superman, he's a McCain supporter. He said something about President Obama that kind of came across as racist." And I told him, I said, "Yeah, I thought it was just me, Dad." And he said, "Isn't he Japanese?" And I said, "Yeah," but I said most people think he's white. They look at him as white because his white mother and his adopted father is a director. He's white, so from all intents and purposes, since he plays Superman, people look at him as white. And then I thought about what he said, and I remember then right here he said, "Denzel made a truckload of cash and I made peanuts." Denzel made truckloads of cash and I made peanuts. In his mind, he thought he was supposed to be on par with Denzel Washington. Just because you played a television version of Superman, just because you was hot for about 2 or 3 years, you're comparing yourself to Denzel Washington, okay? Number one. Number two, it reinforces what I thought his whole voting or the comment he made about then Senator Obama. And I remember my father. I remember telling my father somewhere I had read some other interviews that he gave, and it came across as if he was bitter about something. But now reading this article, and this is a recent article because this was done. What date was it? I had to go back to it. No, June 7th, 2012. It makes sense why he decided he wanted to support John McCain. See, this goes back to what I was saying to people about people of color. As long as they figure they're on equal footing with you or they can get a little ahead of you, they cool. But if you outdo them, you are an issue to them. Now, I hate to use him as an example because I know there are going to be some Superman fans out here. They're going to really like, are you reaching? But I've given you examples of other people of color who have said questionable things about black politicians, black celebrities, or the black community. And it just struck me as odd because I never forget that night when I was watching an episode of Larry King, and for my father to call me, and I didn't say he watched Larry King religiously, but he watched it, and when things stuck out to him, it popped out. And then my father, knowing I'm a big Superman fan, and that night, and to be honest with you, I didn't even know he was on that show that night. I was just happened to be flipping the channels because I usually watch MSNBC during that time. And when I heard him say what he said about then Senator Obama, and I'm like, huh? I'm like, just Dean Cain? Because I remember back when they were shooting Space Jam, when he played ball with Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, and there might be some videos still up here on YouTube. He was hanging around black guys. I mean, and from what I, and I like, oh, dude, down with the, but see, like I said, my naivete back in the early 90s, or I was just a fanboy, I thought that he was down. And then he even said something about when he gave his speech, he even said he was a supporter of President Obama, then Senator Obama. But all of a sudden, what changed it? What made him think otherwise? And then I came across this article, and when I keep saying, but the experience left him with sour aftertaste. Denzel made a truckload of cash and I made peanuts, he said. When you get mad at your agent or the studio, why don't you bring Mr. Washington in? Now, some of y'all might say, hey, I'm reading too much into it, or you're going to get a lot of criticism from those fans of Superman. But I just noticed something, that people who are a quote-unquote minority, and I don't believe in the term minority, I think that's a misnomer, but anyways, who claim to be minority, as long as blacks are getting dumped on, or as long as they can look down on blacks, they cool. But when a black person start coming next to them or go past them, their whole mindset get out of whack and they start to adopt white supremacist ideology. So when we talk about racism, we gotta look at it from all angles. We gotta look at it from a socioeconomic standpoint, a religious standpoint, a sexual standpoint, an educated standpoint, and an entertainment standpoint. See, racism is so fucking complex. Even the people who are racist don't even know they're racist because it's become a normal part of their lives. But we cannot deny that other people of color, people have more in common with us, whether they like it or not, whether you like it or not, exhibit subconscious racial attitudes. Now, I know before I go, I want to point out something. Eva Mendes played in that movie as well. He could have said Denzel made a truckload of money. Eva Mendes got popular. She went on to have a movie career. Remember, Eva Mendes was a model. She got her first start in that Will Smith video. What's that Miami song he made? When they was on a boat, go back and look at the video. Remember when she played opposite Denzel, that little bit part in Training Day, when we saw all her woman parts? Normally, they didn't show all that. Y'all know what scene I'm talking about. There were other actors in the movie. You had Sanaa Lathan, what's her name? That played in what was it, Love Basketball? Who's the voice on Cleveland? It's Cleveland's wife Donna. He didn't use her name. You had John Billingsley, and for those who are Star Trek fans, know they played Dr. Phlox on Star Trek Enterprise. I haven't heard him complain about what the little money he made. But Dean Cain thought that because he played Superman for 4 freaking seasons, he thought because he was on a couple of episodes of 90210, or he was on an episode of Different World, or because he was dating Brooke Shields, that he arrived somewhere. Think about it. I want y'all to really think about when these actors of color say and do certain things, or these people who've been agreed to say and do things aimed at the black person. They throw the black person's name out, or say, well, the black community does this. It tells a lot about these people. Now, I'm not saying he's racist, but it just, some of the things I'm hearing and things I remember seeing is starting to add up by some of these people. Think about it.